Welcome to Getting Automated, and today we're going to go over how to modernize your approach to proposals. Proposals in 2025 need to change. They've been too static, too boring, and not engaging for a long time. And as someone who creates proposals all the time, I want to show you how I've used automation to go ahead and create a beautiful proposal that's online based, automatically AI generated, and it's something that will really help you scale your business and make more compelling pitches to your potential customers. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and I'll walk you through how I'm revamping my entire proposal process and how you can too for your business. Okay, so here's what to expect. Essentially, there's two main parts to this workflow. There's the React website that actually displays your proposal, and then there's the proposal generation and uploading to AWS to actually go ahead and have that be rendered out as a static site so that we can go ahead and create proposals rapidly and share them out to customers. So we'll go ahead and I'll demo both of those today and talk about how they work together and how you can set them up yourself. So what I've done is I've created a really beautiful, in my opinion, website for your proposals. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So essentially this is a demo site, but what it is it is a 24/7 live site that you can go ahead and create a one-of-one for each customer for proposals that you're looking to create. And so basically what this does is this allows you to have something that's way better than a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation that you go over and send to them, and then as the second you send it, it's stale and old. And this is a really interactive way to actually go ahead and have your customers review the proposal even after you've went ahead and presented it to them. So essentially this breaks down kind of all the core components that you'd expect to see in a proposal, and in my opinion, a better looking way. Everything from kind of why they should work with me in my business, to the business challenge that I'm trying to actually unpack, to the solution, to the technical architecture, some social proof in here, the implementation process, the scope, all the details that you would expect, and then also next steps. And what's cool about this is you can actually even then collect a deposit from that customer on the spot. So this links out to a Stripe link where you can go ahead and have them actually pay on the spot and go ahead and get things going as quickly as possible. And this is something you can send to them, and as any feedback comes in, what you can actually do is you can go and make modifications to this so they always have the latest and greatest version, and there's not proposal V1, V2, V3, so on and so forth. And with this, they can even leave comments on the site around what they liked and what they didn't with an associated section, so that way you can go ahead and build that into your actual next version. So that way you're really able to hear kind of their feedback, not only when you're presenting it real time, but also maybe after the fact once they've had time to review and digest it and have an opinion on how to actually go about this or what they're looking for their business. So that's kind of the high level. This costs next to nothing to run on AWS, and we'll get into how this all works and kind of why I think this is a major business driver in 2025 when so many people are stuck in the past with your traditional PowerPoint and PDF based proposals. All right, so let me go ahead and flip back. So I've shown you the actual website. These are just screenshots of each of that, so none of this should come as a surprise. Let's go ahead and let's keep moving. So basically what I want to talk about today is the real cost of old school proposals. As someone who makes proposals a lot for selling a lot of project-based work, I know the pain points of creating proposals. I've worked in PowerPoint way more than I'd like to admit. And while PowerPoint is fine, a lot of times I feel like I'm spending more time rearranging boxes on a slide than I am actually putting in really great content into the actual proposal. And so to me, the rearranging, the beautification, all of that was low value work that I was doing when really what mattered was my actual solution and what I was going to bring to the customer to solve a problem. And so some of the things that I hinted at earlier, such as file versions being time consuming, not having it be secure, having it be dated when you sent it, and really kind of the inability to get real-time or even post-presentation feedback on the proposal were all major components that I wanted to consider and try and solve for with this project. As a quick aside, I'm Hunter Sneed. I run Getting Automated as well as Workflowsy. Essentially, Getting Automated is a business focused on teaching small and medium-sized businesses how to actually introduce automation and AI into their everyday workflows to drive efficiency, drive revenue, really kind of grow their business and keep up with all the big players that are really starting to integrate AI faster and faster so that way they remain competitive. Additionally, Workflowsy is an AI and automation consulting business that goes and actually delivers the complex automations for those who don't want to actually go and build it out themselves. As I said, my mission for this was how do I make a dynamic proposal that was easy to access, easy to share, had the live content, was engaging and kind of had a modern take on what proposals are or what they've been known for today. And so I went ahead and I built out this React site that basically enables this. And what the React site does is it enables me to actually go ahead and just focus on the content, and then that'll all automatically be actually laid out within the website. And I also built out a form builder that we'll go over today as well, that actually then creates the proposal for you using AI, that you can then go and edit and actually update it yourself, and again, send it out to a single customer, 10 customers, 100 customers. It really doesn't matter. It scales pretty much infinitely with this approach. So here's how it all works. So basically what I have is I've got a JSON-based approach, which is similar to how I went about the landing page website that I had built out, where basically you fill out a single JSON file, and that JSON file then will update all the content for your proposal site. And so there's one file that's a source of truth for each proposal. Now, generating that actual JSON file is actually pretty straightforward. So what I've done to make that easier is, as I said, I actually created a proposal form generator that you can go ahead and access that allows you to go ahead and fill in this information in an intuitive way. So that way, those who maybe aren't comfortable working with JSON can go ahead and actually fill this out without having to kind of get into an actual JSON file. If you want to work directly in JSON, you're welcome to do that as well. But this makes sure that all the syntax and everything is proper and correct for what the site actually expects. And then I've also got an AI generated version for how you can start with this. I'll show this in a second as well, but just wanted to quickly kind of flash the getting automated proposal generator and how this works. So again, basically what you do is you input your data, and when I say input data, input stuff into the actual JSON file, and then that's what powers the site. And so once you've got a JSON file with all the content that you like, and you've previewed it and are happy with it, then what you can do from there is you can actually go and upload it to Google Drive. Within Google Drive, I've set up a trigger that integrates with n8n that it'll go ahead and watch a specific folder. And if you go ahead and upload a JSON file to that folder, it'll go ahead and it will actually then generate the Stripe link, and it will go ahead and upload it to AWS. So that way you're able to go and actually send out a link to the customer with that file. And so again, it processes it and creates the Stripe link, and then it uploads it, and then it's all rendered out in a really beautiful React front end that is super, super cheap to run on AWS. And then from there, you're able to actually send out the site with the password protection. So all of these sites, and I can go ahead and actually reload it to make it a little bit more clear. All of these sites are password protected. You can set up a password per site. You can even have, at some point in time in the future, you can even have multiple passwords for multiple sites. That way you can see who's logging in. But essentially, I've just got a really basic password. It's just demo123 for this one specifically. And then that will actually let you into the site to go ahead and have you review the proposal content. And so more often than not, you're not going to put anything that's super sensitive in a proposal, but at the very least, you can at least protect the content in case there is a customer that's sensitive or worried about kind of what may actually be included within it. So let's go ahead and we'll flip back. So yeah, you've got the password protection, and then you can just share the URL. As you can tell by the URL on my side, this proposals.gettingautomated.com. This is a live link on the internet. It's accessible to anyone. So this could be something that you could send along via email, text, really whatever you prefer to do. It's easy to go ahead and kind of pass this along and make sure that anyone can access it from anywhere. So why don't we go and we'll flip back to the actual proposal generator, and I'll show you how this works. Again, this is not something you have to use if you're comfortable with working within JSON, but it is something that I thought made this whole process a lot faster and easier for those who are getting started. So basically what I've done is I've created a form on this little website here. And what this does is this allows you to go ahead and generate your proposal. And so what you'll notice is all of this will actually tie back to the content that you saw on the proposal site. So the stuff like the business challenges, the solution, the key benefits, all of that all ties back to fields that you'll see here, the Loom URL as well. And so what you can do is you can actually go and build all this out. You can go ahead and add items, remove items. You can load, you can use JSON directly if you want to. You really have kind of a lot of options here. I try to make this as flexible as possible. And so there's two ways that I see that you can use this and really kind of accelerate your overall process. The first one being you can click on load example data, and what this will do is that will load in example data that you actually see in the proposal site here. And with this, you will then actually be able to go and just edit stuff. So that way you have kind of a skeleton to work with. Obviously, this isn't going to be your content or your project that you're actually creating a proposal for. But what it will be is it'll have kind of the idea of what is expected in each of these boxes, so that way you can go ahead and maybe just change out an actual icon within this. And so it's all built into this, and it has all the different fields. And again, I know this looks like a lot, but I have a time saver built into this that I think will make it even more appealing in just a second. So obviously this is a lot of work to fill all this out. But a lot of times with the proposal, what you may have is you may have a pretty good gist of kind of what you're looking for or kind of what the project is about. And so with that, what you can actually do is I'll go ahead and I'll take an OpenAI key of mine that I have and I'll paste that in. And then what I'll do is I'm going to actually load an example description in. You can go ahead and write your own description. This is just to, again, to kind of give you a feel of what it's looking for. And what you can do is you can click on Generate with AI. This takes probably anywhere from 15 to 30, maybe a little bit more than 30 seconds. But what this will do is it'll go and actually take your role description. And if you notice, all my fields are blank here, or your project description, and you notice they're all blank. And then what it will do is it will actually go and take that information and it will pass it in to the fields with kind of your project objectives. So you can see here, I talked about in this, if we go to retail tech solutions, a retail technology company, I passed in a price, all of that gets passed through. And some of this stuff you'll have to change, such as the Loom URL. If you're gonna create a Loom with this, which I highly recommend you do, you'll go ahead and you'll have to put something else in here. But yeah, basically what this is this allows you to then go and set expiration dates if you wanted to. It allows you to kind of have a starting point that you can use that is probably 70-80% of the way there, and then just modify based on kind of what you don't agree with, or maybe what's different with your actual approach versus the short description that you passed in. And so we've got all this different content in here, and let's say we're actually happy with it. So what we can do before we go and create a JSON file and have to go and upload it is we can actually click on preview. And what preview will do is preview will give you kind of a watered down version of what the site will look like. And so obviously this doesn't have the same styling that you saw on this, but it gives you an idea of kind of the content that someone would see. And then from there, you can go ahead and refine and tweak to make sure that you have kind of the right components in this that you would expect. And so we've got all this in here, great. And so this is, again, our preview page. And then what we'll do is if we're happy with the content, what we can actually do is we can say generate JSON. And then this generate JSON file will actually go and it will save the content for us. And so with this, what you can do is this is where n8n comes into the picture. So if we flip back over to n8n, the way that this works is essentially I have a workflow that's set up that's to watch different Google Drive folders. You could do this with Dropbox, you could do this with a number of different file hosting providers, really doesn't matter. But basically I have a folder within my Google Drive called JSON website proposals. And so I'm watching for two different events. I'm watching for when the file is updated and when a file is created. And so what this does then is basically it'll go and it'll download that JSON file that we just created. And once it's been put in that folder, and it will go ahead and it will actually kind of prepare everything that you need, such as a Stripe link. So a Stripe link has to go and be generated. And so what you can do is if you pass in the information about your site, so this is again proposals@gettingautomated.com, as well as your Stripe product name. So typically I have one product in Stripe called engagement deposit, and I just add different prices to that actual product. And then that way it kind of all comes in under one line item that I'm used to and kind of know what to expect. And so again, so basically what I do is I go and I check to see if the Stripe product exists. So if there is a product by the name that I specified in here that exists, and then if it doesn't, what I do is I'll actually go and I'll create the Stripe product. If it does exist, then what I'll do is I'll actually just go ahead and create the price for the product. With Stripe, you can have a bunch of different prices associated with the same product. So each project is going to have a different price associated with it. So if we flip back here and we scroll down, typically for the projects that I do, and again, this is a totally fictitious project, but Typically for the projects I do, I require a 25% deposit to go ahead and get started. And so with this would generate a link that is 25% of the fixed price project for a customer. And so if I go back to my workflow, I define all of that actually in this bucket name and pricing details where I say the deposit percentage, and then again, the actual Stripe product name. And then it'll go and create the price, and it'll create a payment link as well. And that payment link is what we actually then go and add back into our template. So let me go to a different version. I have a newer version. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got a different version where I actually went ahead and did this with. So let me go ahead and I will go into this site. If we scroll down and we go to this, what I can do is I can click on it. And as you can see, I've got my engagement deposit link where someone can go and pay right away. And so really what this does is this gets you kind of a faster answer or a faster way for people to pay. That does not involve having to actually go back and forth in email and kind of give a link after the fact. If they're hooked and they already want to go ahead and make the purchase, you can go ahead and make that really easy for them using this payment link. So what I can do is I can actually go and I can pull up that JSON. And what I've got is in this, I originally created, when it goes ahead and creates the Stripe payment link, it just passes something in that's not actually a real link. And so what this workflow does is once it's actually created the link, it will go ahead and it will actually then update your JSON payload that you put into Google Drive with the proper link, and then it will go and upload it to AWS S3. Now, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on kind of the AWS components of this. What I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and make a really, really detailed README that talks about how to actually go about deploying this. But what I've done to make this really easy is I went ahead and I actually created a provision shell file. And so what this does is this will go and actually upload and create your site and all the different stuff that you need to do in AWS for it. All you have to do with this is you just have to actually go and create an API key, an IAM user within AWS, and then pass it in, and then this will take care of the rest. And so I can actually show you what this looks like. If I go and I say provision.sh, basically all of this is keyed off of an environment file. And so the way that that works is we'll go ahead and we'll scroll up in a second. And what you can see is when I ran it, it pulls in information about the actual site that I'm building. So you can run this on a primary domain, so it doesn't need to be something dot your main domain. It could be your main domain.com, but again, proposals.yourdomain.com makes a lot of sense. And then with this, it'll actually go and generate all the rest. So this will take care of setting up any domain settings that need to be set up. If they're not already set up, it'll give you instructions on how to actually do that, so that way you can access this site. But the whole thing's intended to be really easy, where as long as you go ahead and you download this actual repo and you run the scripts, what you should be able to do is, again, it should go ahead and look to make sure that it has all the different requirements installed, that it has the AWS CLI tools, and if it doesn't, it'll install it for you. And then it will go about actually doing or actually creating that proposal deployment website. And so with this, again, this goes and actually runs on AWS and makes it really easy. And I realize I'm not zoomed in enough. What it does, it makes it really easy to actually go and deploy the site once. And then the beautiful thing about this is you're not actually redeploying the site every single time you have a proposal. As long as you just add that proposal to the actual Google Drive folder and it uploads to AWS, then you don't actually have to redeploy the site. It just looks for proposals in a proposal folder, which I can actually show you. And that is how we actually know that we are able to then go and load anything that we put in there. And so you can see that I've got a couple in there, but as long as that JSON file's in there, the URL just matches the JSON file's name. So test123, company XYZA, if I went ahead and did the proposals dots, you'll see that it loads right up. But if I do something where I add a 1, and it's no longer, it doesn't match a file within my AWS S3 bucket, then it's gonna say that that's not a valid proposal. And so with this, again, it makes it really easy. Once it's set up one time, you can go ahead and create proposals at scale. So say you were something like an asphalt or seal coating business that goes ahead and does entire neighborhoods and people want to get an idea of kind of what it would cost to have their driveway done. You could go ahead and change the formatting a little bit for this proposal, but you could essentially, if you had details of measurements for the driveways in that actual neighborhood, you could create proposals at scale where you could have 100, 200, 1,000 different proposals created and go ahead and put it in this proposal bucket. And then at that point, you have 1,000 unique proposals that you can go ahead and send out that all have, if you want to, again, a separate password, separate content, and really a separate deposit link and everything else that then could be used to actually go and sell to, again, a scale or customers at scale for what you're trying to actually do. And so let's go ahead and we'll flip back and kind of go through how this works a little bit more and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. So I'd already talked about this. Basically the way this all works is you've got a React site that's super easy to deploy. I provide that template and formatting and everything out of the box. You're able to obviously modify that as you see fit. But I wanted to start with something that, again, I thought looked really beautiful. And then from there, if you want to modify it beyond that, be my guest. But the way that content is being passed in and everything else should all kind of apply. Then from there, you're hosting it on a static-based hosting platform. There's a lot of these out there. Could host it on a normal FTP server. You could host it on AWS S3, Azure, GCP, Vercel. It really doesn't matter. With this though, I did set it up with S3 or on AWS with CloudFront to make it easy to integrate with S3. And so with that, then again, it's really easy to upload the proposals. And this is something that while AWS typically isn't cheap, this is super cheap and super easy to do. And then from there, it's got the Google Drive based versioning. So once you go ahead and you upload the file to that Google Drive directory, it'll go ahead and it'll actually run the workflow and upload the upload the latest version of your Google Drive JSON file to the proposal site. And then that will be live within, I don't know, usually 30 seconds, a minute from when the workflow actually starts. So super, super quick. And then you've got the password layer as well to actually have kind of the authentication. Now, one of my favorite things about this whole project is the ability to have comments. I think this is something for when proposals are shared. There's two major problems that typically occur. One is around context. When a proposal is shared with someone that wasn't in the meeting, it's really hard for them to understand and kind of have their questions answered. When they weren't there and they maybe didn't hear the other questions that other people already asked, that would have been great context for them to have. And so the video with the Loom should hopefully address some of that. And so with this is a totally separate Loom that I have, but basically you can integrate a short little kind of proposal overview video where you can anticipate and go through the proposal with the person ad hoc. And then with this, or async, and then with this as well, if they still have questions, what they can do is they can say, I don't know, maybe they have questions around the timeline here. They can click on add a comment and they can go to the process and they can say, my name is John Smith. Over 12 weeks, we are really busy right now. And submit it. And then we have a comment bar that saves it. And so anyone that accesses this proposal, it goes ahead and it saves this in S3 as well for the specific proposal. And then that way this persists. And then what you can do is as more and more people look at it and there's more comments left, you can go ahead and you can actually see all the list of comments of feedback, things that you may need to change within your proposal, or you can reach directly out to John Smith and go ahead and kind of clarify any questions that they might have that traditionally, a lot of times people aren't going to go out of their way to email you to get an answer to their question if they're kind of not the primary decision maker on a proposal, but to be able to clarify that here is really, really valuable and something that, again, you're able to just get more and more feedback so that way you can go ahead and refine and adjust the proposal as you need to and as you see fit. And if we refresh this and we go back into it, you will see that the comment persists as well. So it is actually being saved to AWS. That way you don't have to worry about just someone seeing comments on their side and having it not make its way back to you or anything like that. So why does this actually matter and kind of what are the business benefits? Again, I've gone over some of them, but having the instant updates is big. Proposals are quick to get outdated, whether that's even just the start date, inaccurate information in a proposal is something that can take someone out of that proposal and kind of affect their mindset of how they're perceiving the proposal and how it applies to them. So the more up-to-date and accurate a proposal that you can create that everyone's looking at, the better chance you have of not alienating someone in the process who sees something that looks wrong to them or incorrect, and then they start to introduce doubts into the rest of the proposal holistically. With that, you also have the kind of engaged client interactions with the feedback that we just went over. The branding's a no-brainer. The last thing I want to do is have to go ahead and recreate branding material or kind of mess around with boxes and shapes on a slide to kind of make sure that my branding looks consistent. With this, it's all code-based, and so I'm able to go ahead and whether it's 5 boxes or 20 boxes, it shows up the same on the site, and it'll look good every single time versus me having to go and resize and align and do all the things that PowerPoint typically makes you do. And the scalability, there's not really an easy way to create PowerPoints at scale that look good at least. And so imagine, again, for a use case where you have 100, 1,000, 10,000 different potential customers that you want to create proposals with and share it to, this is a solution that allows you to actually be able to do that. So what does this actually cost? As with most of my videos and most of my solutions, I really try and drive home a really low cost for something like this. Hosting, if we flip back to my AWS account, I'm not sure if you saw this, but my AWS account, I think I'm paying about $1 a month right now for, and I've been pretty actively developing within it. With this, I've got $1.12, and I am running a bunch of different websites out of this. I've got websites for all sorts of different domains that I own that are static-based websites that, again, across all those websites, I'm paying $1.12. So super, super economical for a solution like this. The AI integration, the content that's being generated out, my estimate's between a cent to 2 cents per generation. So if you can generate 90% of a proposal for a penny or two, and then just have to modify it, again, total game changer for not only how long it takes for you to get these proposals done, but also cost, even just in time of kind of labor hours that would go into it typically. And so again, a cent or two is kind of what I've been seeing from most of the actual generations, if not less, and that's using GPT-4o as my model of choice. That said, you could go ahead and you could use o1, you could use Claude. I mean, really doesn't matter. Again, I just built it out with o1 or with 4o, but it's super easy to go ahead and change out the model for your specific use case and liking. This is really cutting down the time that it takes me to create proposals. And so with this, I estimate probably 95% of my time has been saved. I spent a long time, usually at least an hour or two previously on proposals. And this, I can get them done in, or at least a first draft done in a couple minutes. And then revenue potential, this is still to be determined. I'm looking to go ahead and launch some kind of scaled offers out. And so I'd love to be able to have it where I can create a bunch of different proposals and send it out. So there may be well over a 30% revenue increase from this, just from my ability to have a broader reach and be able to collect deposits and kind of get the project started in a easier way than what was available to me before. So what comes next? Stripe integration, we're actually already there, but I want to go ahead and integrate a little bit further. What I'd like to do, and where I'm going to take this, is basically once the payment comes in, kick off a whole bunch of different steps that come afterwards. Think onboarding, think maybe contracts, writing, all of that. And so that's something that's in the works right now that I'll go ahead and probably do another video on, but kind of really playing into the Stripe integration of, okay, I got a payment, what comes next? Analytics, this is another big one that I'd love to play with around being able to figure out how long someone is spending on a specific portion of your proposal and who that is, or not, maybe not who specifically that is, but seeing kind of where different stakeholders are spending time. And so there's a couple different ways to do that. That could be through giving unique passwords where each person can access the same proposal, but with a different password, so you know who's actually accessing what. But then beyond that as well, actually monitoring through JSON or through JavaScript what portions of the proposal they're spending the most time on. So that way you can kind of anticipate maybe what questions or where the most interest is for what you're actually building out. And then optional collaboration, I'd love to make this a little bit more collaborative. Right now, it's just, again, that JSON form-based editor, which I think is great, but always room for improvement. And so making this a little bit more collaborative where multiple people could be working on it at the same time and kind of making edits internally before you actually generate the JSON file is really what I'm looking to do. All right, so I know I've been talking about this for a while, and I promise you it is coming, but the last thing I want to do is launch a half-baked community. As many of you know, quality is what I stand by. I really try and build unique projects, unique experiences, unique perspectives around what I'm doing, and so with that, the Getting Automated community is no different. So I still have a pre-registration list open right now. I'm looking to launch within the next couple of weeks, hopefully sooner than later. I'm building out a course. I'm building out all sorts of resources and whatnot. So when you join, it's ready to go. You get immediate value from this community. But I really want to make sure that, again, this is for real builders. This is for people that want to go ahead and roll their sleeves up and want to actually go and build cool things and build things that impact their business in a positive way using AI and automation. And so if this is interesting to you, please go to my pre-registration link on my website on Getting Automated. It's community.gettingautomated.com, and you'll be the first to hear about it when I go ahead and actually publicly open it and allow people to join and kind of interface and do all the great things that this community is going to do. So just some final thoughts. Really, this is a pretty cool use case for me. This is one that I'm pretty excited about. As always, I can't thank you enough for all the support that you all have shown me. I love doing this. These projects get me excited. I just love seeing where automation's going. I have a lot more planned, whether it's around DeepSeek, whether it's around different kind of industry-based use cases, one around real estate and onboarding and kind of client flows, one around overall adoption with AI. Really, all of this is possible through you guys liking, sharing, and subscribing. It means the world to me. Please go ahead and keep doing that. It shows me that I'm doing something right and that I'll continue to make content around this space. So as always, if you want to reach out, please feel free to set up time with me. You can reach me via email at hunter@gettingautomated.com. Additionally, you can go to my website where you'll find different resources and whatnot that are available, or you can reach out to me, obviously via YouTube in the comments section. Again, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.